Welcome to episode 204 of the We Are Auto Show. What's up, Derek?
Mr. Michael Rao, there was lots of racing that happened over the weekend, but I want to talk about something that we normally don't talk about.
We're going to talk about baking.
The NASCAR Truck Series.
Oh, we don't normally talk about the NASCAR Truck Series because we don't really care too much about it.
No, there's a reason we don't, and it's because it's a feeder series to the NASCAR Cup Series, right?
Well, true.
If we talked about all the support series for every racing series, we'd be on forever.
Yeah, there's a 12-hour-long podcast.
But if you're NASCAR, you utilize the Truck Series and the support series basically to tinker, to test, to try things.
Mm-hmm.
They did this weekend. They did a thing that they've never, that I know of, done in the past.
Which is?
It was raining at Martinsville, and they put rain tires on the trucks and raced in the rain.
You know, it's kind of funny that you say that. And for us coming from a sports car background, the fact that this is the first time they've ever put rain tires for a race during the rain sounds absurd.
Let me clarify. Not the first time they've ever put rain tires on the trucks.
Pardon
Only
me.
at an oval.
Pardon me. At an oval, I should say.
Right. So normally they don't do this because ovals, you're basically trying to go to the limit of grip every single corner. Mm-hmm. It's really difficult to do with wet track conditions. But as you're seeing here in the photos, if you're watching on YouTube, it's what we would call in the sports car world a very drying track. It's not very damp, to be fair.
It's slightly moist.
Slightly moist. Now, the teams only had one set of rain tires.
Oh.
So they couldn't run the whole race on this. This was just a we'll see if this even works kind of thing.
Okay.
And pretty quickly, although you see these photos, there's spray. There's mist coming off the cars.
There's a little bit of spray there.
There's some precipitation out there.
They are participating in the precipitation.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. This was fairly unheard of by them, but to my understanding, this is a test. Because what happens is the Cup Series cars will go to a racetrack. It will rain. It takes 4.5 hours to try the track because it's a massive NASCAR track, and you got jet dryers, and they go 2 miles an hour. It takes forever to clear them. What they want to do is get it to where there are no puddles, put rain tires on the cars, and race cars are very good at drying a track.
They are. You'll notice, at least in the sports car world, when you start racing on a wet track, not too long, unless it is still downpouring, do you get a dry line.
Right. So the intention is not we're going to race in a downpour. They're not going to do that. But what they will do is once the jet dryers have cleared the standing water, they'll put rain tires on, and instead of taking 4 hours, it only takes an hour to get the track to racing conditions.
Well, that's much more exciting.
Yes. And I think that would be overall very good for the race fans in NASCAR. I don't see why they haven't done this in the past, to be honest.
It would make a lot of sense, to be honest. I like that idea.
Mm-hmm. But glad to see that they're tinkering here, and from what I could tell, it was a pseudo-success. I think they would have completed the race had they had more rain tires, but since the teams were only allotted and told to bring one set, they only did that. So maybe in the future, we see a full-on Truck Series race that's in damp conditions without any standing water in places. That'd be neat.
That would be exciting.
Yep.
I like that idea.
Yeah. So that's what happened in the NASCAR world. Now let's talk about what happened over in California in the sports car world.
California. Let's start IMSA.
All right.
So we're going to stay away from the open wheel stuff, and we'll get back to the open wheel stuff in a second, meaning Indy. But IMSA, the International Motorsports Association, they had their Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach this past weekend.
Yes, they did.
And I would argue this was quite an exciting race.
As you can see, it kicked off early.
The very first corner of the very first lap, Mr. Sebastian Bourdais is going the wrong direction in this picture we're looking at.
He stuffs it right nose first into the wall.
Yeah. Apparently he decided that it was a good idea to go full send on cold tires on a dirty racing line into turn one. That doesn't happen.
As a professional racing driver, I thought he'd know better than that, but live and learn. All right.
Yeah, that struck me as odd, and everyone that I've seen posting about this online is kind of thinking the same thing of like,
really?
I wouldn't expect that from Sebastian Bourdais. I would expect that from an LMP3 driver, but they weren't racing in this. I would expect that from a GTD driver, but not Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah.
Seems a little odd.
Very odd.
There's rumors that there was some sort of mechanical issue there too, but that just looked like he lost it, to be honest.
It's my eye. He just lost it.
But throughout the race, there were some good battles. I mean, good battles in GTD Pro, good battles in GTD, between the Lexus and the Aston, between the Porsche and the Corvette. I mean, Corvette overtook the FAF Porsche with a brilliant move, a little bit of a head fake and do a dive into the inside, and it was wonderful to watch.
Yep.
Even though I'm a Porsche fan, that was just good racing. But really the thing that stands out from this race was the battle for the win.
There was a good battle up front.
Yeah, the GTP battle between, it was a Porsche and an Acura, and a BMW was even in the mix there too.
I know.
Yeah, kind of wild.
Going into this race, we expected the Acura to win. This was the Acura Grand Prix at Long Beach.
Yeah,
right?
that is the name of it.
They were the dominant sponsor. We expected Cadillac to be very good. Normally, they're pretty good at street circuits because they're very grunty. We expected Porsche and BMW to be competitive, but struggle more than the other two.
Yeah, and even in apparently practice and quality, the Porsche 963 GTP was struggling with some grip issues. But man, what a freaking battle between Mathieu Jaminet in the Porsche and Ricky Taylor in the Acura. Good God, what a battle.
Yep.
This came down to, was it the last lap technically, or second to last lap, I think? It was damn near the end of the race.
Yeah, I think it was within the last 3 laps.
Yeah, like two or three laps, somewhere in there. But with Ricky Taylor and Mathieu Jaminet, they were duking it out throughout the race. I mean, head fake here, head fake there. I'm going to look to the inside here, look to the outside there. And then Ricky Taylor goes for this full-blown Hail Mary pass into turn 1, exactly where Sebastian Bourdais lost it as well, and goes in there way too late on the brakes.
Yep.
Thinking, oh yeah, I'll go full send here, and yoink, right into the tires.
Yeah. Not kind of very uncharacteristic of Ricky to do that.
I'm thinking this is bad blood from Sebring.
For the
because
Ricky
that was
even in
Wayne
the car.
Taylor Racing, and
Yeah, but Ricky wasn't even in the car.
yeah, but it was his dad's team, and it was that car and that car.
You're just taking the very Porsche-centric approach to this. He's going for the win of the race. He didn't even touch the Porsche. If it was payback, he'd have just smashed into the back of the Porsche.
Fair point. You're right. I mean, if there is a gap, you have to go for it as a racing driver,
he's
right?
being a racing driver.
I mean, this is after a battle between the Porsche and the BMW. The BMW GTP tried to go late on the brakes, and the Porsche just said, okay, I'll lift. I'll let him go spinning, go way out, and I'll just tuck back in. But I mean, Ricky Taylor goes full send into turn 1, way too late on the brakes, stuffs it, and then Porsche goes around him. The BMW with Augusta Farfus misses him by a hair, and it ends up being a Porsche podium.
Yeah, the Acura that crashed it brought out the caution, which secured Porsche the win, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yep. That does mean now that in the past 3 races, there have been 3 different manufacturers on the top step of the podium.
Yeah.
It was Acura at Daytona, Sebring had Cadillac, and now Long Beach has Porsche. So now all we need is BMW to win the next race, and we have all 4 in 4 races.
That'll be wild.
You know, after the results that BMW had here, I could see it happen.
It might happen. Where is the next race? It's at Laguna Seca.
I believe so.
Yep, in about a month, in 3-4 weeks, we're at Laguna Seca, and I love that track so much. So
yep,
that'd be great.
So this was a cool race. Who took the podium real quick?
Podium, you had the bottom step was a Porsche. That was Matt Campbell and Felipe Nasser in the number 7 Porsche. Second place was the BMW with Connor DeFelipe and Nick Yellowly. And I misspoke earlier. It wasn't Augusto Farfus that missed the Acura by a hair. It was the 25 BMW with Connor DeFelipe and Nick Yellowly. And then the win went to the number 6 Porsche, which was Nick Tandy and Mathieu Jaminet. So that was a Porsche 1-3, a BMW 2-4, and then a Cadillac, and then 2 Acuras, and then the other Cadillac in GTP.
Yeah, so the 2 Acuras finished very poorly at their home-sponsored race.
Agree. Real quick, in GTD Pro, you had the Lexus, number 14, Jack Hawksworth, Ben Barnicoat took the win. Then the Corvette took second, and then you had the FAF Porsche took third. All in all, good race.
Yeah, very exciting race.
Pretty exciting race.
Yep. Now, this was not the only race that happened at the streets of Long Beach. This track is very famous. So is this race for the Grand Prix of Long Beach, which is an IndyCar race.
Yeah.
Open wheels versus closed wheels, but same track, different day. That was IMSA was on Saturday, IndyCar was on Sunday.
Yes.
Now, the IMSA race, if you're going to go watch one of these, go watch the IMSA race. It was way more entertaining.
Oh,
I'll tell you that.
So much more.
Go watch it. It is tough for these open wheel cars to make passes at Long Beach.
Especially passes where you can make it stick and not stuff it.
You murder one of you two.
Yeah.
Somebody's probably getting contact and somebody's going into the wall when you try to make a pass here.
Yeah.
At least in an open wheel car. In the IMSA stuff, you can bump and rub a little bit. You can get away with that. In open wheel, you really can't do that.
Yeah, there's not much bumping and grinding with an open wheel car.
No, not quite. Now, this race overall was fairly entertaining, but there is some drama that is unfolded from it that we have to talk about real fast.
Oh.
So, in the middle of the race, what ended up happening was two teammates, I believe that it was Callum Ilott and Augustine Canapino, they got into it with each other. In this situation, I think Callum Ilott he might have been in the lead, and then Canapino had some issues and was trying to get his lap back, trying to stay on the lead lap, and they had contact with each other. And this caused some problems, and apparently one of the announcers, specifically the Argentinian IndyCar commentator, was very upset about it and said a whole bunch of bad things about one of the drivers.
Oh.
So this sparked a whole bunch of internet drama where Callum Ilott was getting in big trouble for wrecking his own teammate, even though his teammate was in the win. It was unintentional, but somehow they had contact with the wall and eventually got into trouble. This went all the way to where IndyCar, the series itself, came out with a statement saying, fans, please stop being mean to this guy on social. There were death threats. There was
Were they death threats to the driver or the commentator?
To my understanding, it was to the driver, Callum Ilott.
Jesus.
It was not good. And it kind of started from the hate that started from the broadcast team.
Wow.
So, not great. Pato O'Ward was another driver who kind of got involved in the drama as well. You don't really need to know all the details. We'll put this link in the description if you want to read more about it. But there was some hot drama that happened. Now, as far as the racing goes, we do have Scott Dixon had an interesting situation in the beginning of the race where they dropped the green flag, and some people were calling what you would call in NASCAR a Kyle Busch restart. A Kyle Busch restart is where you're coming to the green flag. You're not all the way up to the car in front of you, but you're accelerating toward them. And when the green flag drops, you're moving faster already than the car in front of you. So
almost a jump.
Yeah, it's basically a jump start, right?
Yeah.
There was 2 or 3 cars in the beginning of this race that jumped Scott Dixon, and he was not very happy on the radio. A couple laps later, he ended up getting, I think, punted by O'Ward into the wall, and he was not very happy about that.
Yeah, that was a Pato O'Ward pseudo dive into Dixon.
It was what you would call a murder. Yeah.
Watching the highlights and the replay of that looked
almost intentional.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I understand he wants the gap, but goddamn, son, risk reward, way too much risk for that one.
Yeah, not a good look. Other notables, there was a good lead and a good battle between Sebastian Bourdais and I believe that it was Kyle Kirkwood, who was the eventual winner.
Yep.
Bourdais was second. He had a situation basically on the last 25 laps of the race. Everyone was running a fuel save strategy, but IndyCar has a push-to-pass situation where you can push a button on the steering wheel and gain, I think it's 50 horsepower. You do burn more fuel to do it, so if you're in a fuel-safe situation, it really doesn't help you all that much. And if we looked on the last 10 laps of the race, it was Sebastian Bourdais had a whole bunch of seconds of push-to-pass.
Wait, was it Sebastian Bourdais or Romain Grosjean?
Maybe it was Grosjean. I think it was Grosjean.
Yeah.
Grosjean had a whole bunch of seconds of push-to-pass left. And he couldn't utilize it because he was in the fuel-safe situation.
That is a field of defeat.
That really is. I think he ended the race with almost 100 seconds of push to pass left.
Ooh, because I
That's a
would have
long
loved to see Romain Grosjean take a win there.
He still has not gotten a win in IndyCar.
Which is odd.
Very.
Because he's a good driver.
Yeah. And
He's always finishing, well, not always, but typically he's found at the top of the pack.
Right. If you think about the other street circuit that they ran, which was St. Pete, he was one of the drivers that was battling it out in the last 25 laps and got into it with, can't remember the other driver.
McLaughlin.
Scott McLaughlin. Yeah. And they got into it with each other. Cars were crashing, and it was for the lead of the race. Like, he totally could have won. In this case, he finished second, had a good chance if he wasn't running a fuel save strategy to win the race.
He could have won the race if he had enough gas to use that push to pass.
Right. He was in the same situation as everyone else. Everyone was running a fuel save strategy. They were all lifting and coasting a lot into turn one.
Yeah.
But that was just how you had to race that race. That's how the strategy cards fell.
So
who took the win?
The win went to Kyle Kirkwood. That's an Andretti driver. Second place was Romain Grosjean, another Andretti driver. Then third place was Marcus Ericsson. That's a Chip Ganassi driver.
Interesting. So I believe that leads into it will be Barber Motorsports Park next.
In Birmingham, yep.
Cool.
I like that track.
I do too.
Barber's a cool track.
Barber has some good flow to it.
Yeah.
It'll be great with IndyCar.
Yeah, I think that's, in my opinion, one of the best circuits for IndyCar, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
I really like IndyCar at Barber.
Although I don't really know what cars don't do well at Barber, to be honest.
That's fair. Barber's just a cool track.
Yeah, has very good flow to it.
Yeah.
So that was IndyCar. Let's move over to the WEC, which was
WEC
doing the 6 Hours of Portimao.
Yes, the World Endurance Championship.
Yes. So what country is Portimao in?
Portugal.
Yeah, it is Portugal. That's right. So would that be Ferrari's home racetrack?
No, Ferrari would be Italy.
Is there any Monza? Do they race at Monza?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then Monza.
Monza.
Okay. Portimao overall was a very entertaining race. I happened to catch like the last 3 hours of the race, and there was one theme in Portimao, and it was brake failures.
So I caught some highlights. I didn't see the whole race, but I caught some highlights. And there was one car in particular that had a brake failure that went out in absolutely spectacular fashion.
Yes. The Van Wall.
Driven by?
I can't remember his name.
The legend himself,
yes.
Jacques Villeneuve.
That's right.
Going out in a ball of fire. His whole front tire was just in flames.
Yes.
Spinning backwards into the tires. That is just absolute spectacular fashion to go out of a race. I mean, if you're going to go out, you might as well go out in a ball of fire. Hell yeah, brother.
I don't think he intended to do that.
No, but it was jolly exciting to see on the TV.
Yes, it was. Now, I did notice when I was watching before the brake failures started, every time the Ferraris would come in and pit, they would put the wheel gun on, they would pull the trigger, which would start the center nut spinning. And when that happened, it always sprays air everywhere. And if they had burned through a lot of brakes, you'll see a giant dust cloud of brake dust envelop the person trying to change the tire.
Ooh, and if there's any sort of ignition or spark there,
it can catch fire. But there was no fire that happened here. Every time they came in, though, there was significantly more dust than any other car.
On the Ferrari?
Yes.
Oh.
And specifically on, I think it was both the Ferraris. So what that told me was they were using the front brakes a lot more than everybody else, because it was only really the fronts that did this.
Yeah.
And you could visibly see when they would smash the brakes in a long straight, there was just clouds coming off the car. Yep.
Ooh.
So I'm not really sure if Portimao in general is that hard on the brakes, or Ferrari just had the biases all janky or something was weird about it.
Yeah, something seems odd there.
But they were the only cars that really ran into that much brake problem. The Van Wheel just had a failure. There was a straight-up disc explosion.
No.
Something went wrong. It was a failure.
It was a proper failure. It was
one of the Ferraris
freaking explosion.
Had a failure, but it was just due to them burning through the pad.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't an explosion. They just had no brakes left.
Wow, they were using that much brake.
After
they went,
6
oh my
hours.
God.
Only 6, and I think it was like with 20 minutes left, he burned through the pad.
So that tells me they must have done something really funky between Sebring and Portimao with testing.
I agree.
Because I don't recall Ferrari having any issues like that at Sebring.
No.
And while, sure, Sebring isn't quite as hard on the brakes, it's hard on the car in general.
Yeah, it's bumpy, right?
But, man, that was a 12-hour race versus a 6-hour race.
To run through pads in a 6-hour race is not good for Le Mans.
That's what I was about to say. What's going to
good.
happen at Le Mans when they're coming out of the Mulsanne Straight? I mean,
There are so many straightaways into hard braking zones at Le Mans. It's not good.
yeah, I mean, you come out of the Mulsanne and you are standing on that brake pedal.
Into every one of those chicanes, you're going from top speed to
Minimal.
second, third gear.
Yeah.
Right. So you're just hard on the brakes on every one of them. I don't know. We'll end up seeing what happens. Another quick note. The Cadillac did look relatively quick. They did have issues. They had issues with tires. One time when they were coming in the pits, they locked up really hard. That flat spotted one of them. I think that might have been for a penalty as well. So
Yeah, that was wild. He just forgot to brake.
yeah, they had issues in general, but they were like mechanical and solvable driver mistake issues. When they didn't have issues, the cars were fast. The Cadillac specifically was very fast. I think it was the fastest car on track for like the last 30 minutes of the race, which is good. Now, the leading car in that case had a big gap, so they didn't really have to push very hard. But good to see that Cadillac had pace. The Peugeots themselves looked pretty darn solid. They seemed much faster and much better than they were at Sebring.
They finished the race.
They did finish the race, which is good for them. They kind of need that. And I'm kind of excited for Le Mans.
With the Peugeot?
No, just in general.
Me too.
It's going to be an awesome race just to see a whole bunch of different stuff going there.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be amazing.
Yep. As far as GT went, there was a good battle between Corvette and Ferrari near the end of the race. That I do suggest watching because they just were side by side on the final lap, battling. The Ferrari caught the Corvette over like 3 laps in 10 seconds. It was awesome to watch.
Just duking it out.
Yep. Super cool. Ooh. So who took down the win?
Sure. So I'll give you top 3. Your podium for your hypercar was third place, the number 6 Porsche 963. That was the Kevin Estra, Underlader, and Lawrence Vantor car. Second place, you had a Ferrari, the 499P, the number 50 car. Antonio Fuoco, Miguel Molina, and Nicholas Nielsen. First place, the overall win, was the Toyota Gazoo Racing, the number 8. That was Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, and Ryo Hirakawa. I'm not super stoked about this.
What happened?
There's only one car on the lead lap.
Yeah.
I mean, so the Toyota was on the lead lap. Second and third were both a lap down. Fourth and fifth were another lap down. And then sixth was another lap down.
That tends to happen in WEC races. We talk about it all the time. The safety car pack up, the way that IMSA does it's just different.
Yep.
I'm still excited for Le Mans. One of the Toyotas had a major failure, which was good to see.
Yeah.
I know that sounds mean, but it is what it is.
You.
One of the Porsches also had a hydraulic transmission failure, something like that, where they were in the pit for a while. I do think that Le Mans will be a finish, just get to the end.
Yeah, just
race.
get through it.
Right. Considering it will be the first 24 that they'll do. They've done a 12, not a 24.
12. Yep.
So this will be the first one that they do in race conditions. I'm sure they've done them in practice and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Should be very exciting. Now, the next race that they're going to, I believe, is Spa.
Spa-Francorchamps, and that is in just a couple of weeks, actually.
Is it? I think it's a 6-hour as well.
April 27th, 28th, 29th. That's the Spa event. So imagine on the 29th is when you'll have the race.
Awesome. Cool.
And that is going to be a good race to watch.
Yes. So what racing do we have coming up this week?
This weekend, there's not a lot of stuff that we're going to be able to really watch on regular TV here in the States. We have the British Touring Car Championships, the BTCCs.
Okay.
They are racing rounds 1, 2, and 3 at Donington. The ELMS, the European Le Mans Series, is racing the 4 Hours of Barcelona this weekend. GT World Challenge Europe is racing at Monza. And then NASCAR, which is pretty much the only race we're going to really be able to watch here, is racing the Geico 500 at Talladega this weekend.
Oh, God.
Oh, baby.
So we got some pack racing at Talladega.
Yes, we do.
All right. You know what? Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, raise hail, praise Dale.
Uh-huh.
Gotta love it. But yeah, that's what you got to look forward to this weekend. I'm sure there may be something I'm missing, but I think that's about it. You got anything else?
I do not.
All right, it's going to wrap us up for episode 204. Thanks so much for watching and listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave a thumbs up and hit subscribe. Don't forget, drop a comment on the video as well. Let us know what you think about the IMSA race at Long Beach. I think it was pretty exciting. If you're listening on audio, send us those thoughts via social. Facebook is We Are Auto. Instagram is We Are Auto _. YouTube is We Are Auto. And our website is weareauto.io, where you can go to catch some of your favorite past races. So, thanks again. Catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.